Takes a few seconds to go live. I've got another screen that's showing me the viewer perspective.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and so I know exactly when it was taking place.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be, all right, and we're live and we're going. So for anyone watching out there, and it might take a few seconds for people to trickle in, this is a live cast, which is essentially just a podcast, but we allow people to look in behind the door of, the virtue of transparency. And we have a really special guest in today. I'm really excited to do this one. This is probably the last podcast that we'll do this year at Team Builder. And I just couldn't think of a better person to have on with us today. Mike Cazayoux of Brute Strength is joining us from Texas. Mike, say hey to everyone.
Hey guys, man, I really appreciate this, and I appreciate everything that you guys have done for us. So I'm pumped to be here as well. And this is a sick idea. So I'm pumped to see how it goes, see how the interaction is, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're always trying to push limits and try some new stuff, and maybe it works out or maybe it doesn't, but it's always worth a try. So, full disclaimer, Team Builder is a partner of Brutes, and that being said, we couldn't be any more proud to partner with such a high quality organization based on high quality people. And it's probably our closest partner to date. So we just wanted to make that known. So just to give everyone a little bit of background on Mike Cazayoux, in the strength and conditioning world, I know a lot of people know about Mike, but there are also a lot of people who don't. So just to give some background, Mike Cazayoux is a strength coach. He is also deeply involved in CrossFit. In fact, he's a CrossFit champion. And then also Mike is an entrepreneur, and a successful entrepreneur at that. He's the CEO of Brute Strength, which is a fitness outfit, a brand, if you will. They're very multi-dimensional, operating in CrossFit, but also with a lot of traditional strength and conditioning components as well. Just to give you a little background, Mike spent time as a strength coach at Southern Utah University before going to LSU, directly under Tommy Moffitt, who we all know is one of the all-time greats. Mike has an unusual background, and then he got into CrossFit first, competing and coaching, and then into traditional strength and conditioning. And then out of that came Michael's venture into Brute Strength as we know it today, and I'll let Mike talk a little bit more about that. But Mike's a superb coach and also a superb athlete, a CrossFit Affiliate World Cup champion in 2012 and 2013. And if anyone knows anything about CrossFit, it's a really competitive and really painful sport if you compete in that arena.
I'm glad I'm done.
I bet. I couldn't imagine how nice it is to be involved and not have to suffer every time there's a competition. Mm-hmm. But based out of Louisiana, Mike made his way to Utah as he got started in his career. And this is probably the most unique part of your story, Mike, was that you went to Utah for drug rehab, and your successful career in strength and conditioning started in a dark place with drug addiction. Maybe you can start with that and then go into more of your background from there.
Absolutely, man. And at this point in my life, it's honestly one of the biggest sources of pride for me, having overcome that. And it's at the time, it was obviously there was so much heartache and depression and anxiety and rifts in my family, but we all learned so much from that experience that, again, it's just one of the things that I'm so proud of in my life. Went out there for drug rehab, spent the better part of 2 years in inpatient treatment, very, very intensive treatment, group therapy, individual therapy. I did finish high school over there. And then when I got out, I started college at the University of Utah, started doing CrossFit as Hewitt, as you just said, got really involved to the point where we won 2 championships. And around, 2013, after we had already won once, I got an offer to be a strength and conditioning coach at Southern Utah University. And I was going to be in charge of, most track and field teams, women's soccer, and then I assisted with gymnastics, football, as well as the throwers. And that was, going there was probably the most dynamic part of my coaching career, because up to that point, really all I knew was CrossFit, and all I knew the only way I knew how to train people was give them Metcons or give them interval training. And over there, I met my good friend now, one of my best friends, Jacob Hutton. And he opened my eyes to everything that I know now. He introduced me to people like Charles Poliquin, and I'm talking only on the interwebs. Charles Poliquin, Mike Boyle, Joe DeFranco, all of the old school great strength and conditioning coaches. And I just dived into that shit. You know, I loved my college anatomy and physiology courses, but to have these guys explain how that stuff looks in a practical manner and how it can make people bigger, faster, stronger, and how that's different than, you know, the way I had been taught to just do Metcons and interval training I just ate it up. It was fascinating to me, and I would work, you know, maybe 10 hours a day at the college. And then I would get home at 6, 7 at night, and I would spend every minute until I went to bed just looking through articles on Testosterone Nation, the Poliquin blog at the time, DeFranco's website, all of that shit. I was obsessed with it. About 9 months later or a year later, I was talking to Matt Bruce, and I said, man, I want to make a change. And I don't know if strength and conditioning in the collegiate setting is for me, but I'm not sure yet. Right. And I think I would love to intern with LSU if possible. And Matt is really good friends with Coach Moffitt. They have a great relationship. And so I went down there for like an interview for the internship. Coach Moffitt liked me, and we set something up for, I want to say summer of 2014, after the summer of 2014 or 2013. And so then I interned with Coach Moffitt for about 9 months, and that was an amazing experience. Learned a shitload, and one of the biggest things I learned from Coach Moffitt and his staff was just a new level of care and quality for coaching. Those guys are working so fucking hard, so, you know, such long hours, but every set, every rep, they are following the guy down, and as he's doing a squat, they're right there with him for the entire workout, and they do that every day of the year, just about every single day of the year. And they just care about those kids, and they care about their well-being in such a way. It was inspiring to me. I'd never seen people care that much. You know, coaches care that much. So that was a huge lesson for me.
So you developed this experience under like a really prestigious pedigree, you know, speaking from the coach angle, and then you decided you wanted to make a change, and you've taken coaching now and you've turned it into a business, a high quality business. And that kind of brings me into the beginning of our podcast. And I just want to start with, you know, somewhat of a theory. I'm looking for the word. I can't think of it, but the question: Can strength coaches be successful in business today? Let's just cover that up front. Can they be?
Absolutely, they are all the time, for sure. Yeah, they absolutely can, and a lot of the qualities that made me a good strength coach definitely make me a successful entrepreneur. And I think we might talk later about some of the things that might not lend itself to entrepreneurialism. But so, you know, one of the biggest things that you learn as a strength coach that you have to develop is the ability to be persistent, right? The ability to be flexible. You know, if you're working with 100 different kids on a football team, you have to be flexible in your approach, because every different kid needs something a little bit different, and you have to be in tune with what each of those individuals needs, right? You also have to be persistent in that some of them, like, they didn't necessarily sign up to be in the weight room every day, right? So they signed up to play ball, not to be in the weight room. So you have to be persistent in your kind of approach to get through to them. And obviously those are key factors in running a business, because it almost never goes as planned running your own business. And especially not the first time. So you need that flexibility and persistence to be successful in both.
I'm especially interested in parsing out the qualities of strength coaches that also make them good at business, and also understanding which qualities of strength coaches may not translate well to business. We're going to get to that in a couple minutes. But first, I want to cover what motivates you specifically, because CEO Strength Coach is a book by Ron McKeefery. And the very first chapter, he dedicates to why he even wrote the book in the first place. And he has this story about how he walked into a bookstore on campus, and he just happened to open a business book. And he had like an epiphany. Basically, he said, right now, my salary is my sole source of, sustainability. And I could be cut off anytime. No matter how good I am at strength coaching, I'm in a business where we get let go all the time because of circumstance. And that motivated him into creating his own personal brand, because it made him feel fulfilled at being, self-sustaining, kind of like independent. And I just want to ask you, at what point did you get like motivation or get some sort of inspiration for building the Brute Strength brand?
Well, it's something that I was kind of drifting towards for a while, this notion that I don't like working for other people. And I think, honestly, I'm a pretty shitty employee because I've never dealt well with authority. I've always been extremely independent, and I just don't like to be told what to do for whatever reason. And I'm always kind of looking for good mentors and advice, but only if I ask for it, right? So I had been toying with this notion of starting my own business for a while, but I thought it was going to be to start a gym. That was just the simplest, most straightforward approach. And I really didn't even see any potential in this online world. I knew nothing about it before I started it, and I just didn't think it would work. I thought it was kind of lame, like just sending people workouts online and stuff like that. I didn't see the potential, but and I say this often, and he knows this. The only reason I continued, we started Brute as Bruce Barbell back in the day when I was still in Louisiana. I moved back to Utah because I thought I was going to buy one of Tommy Hackenbrook's gyms. That's my old teammate, famous CrossFitter, one of the best of all time. And the only reason I kept doing the online programming is because I knew how much it meant to Matt, and I didn't want to let him down. Over the next 3 to 6 months, it completely switched, where I realized I really didn't want anything to do with the brick and mortar gym with all of the risk. And I saw this huge opportunity in this online thing that we were creating. The biggest thing for me, there were two things. One is the obvious freedom that comes with owning your own business, and especially a virtual business. I can do this. I can do my entire job in Texas, Canada, where my wife is from, or in Hawaii, where we just met with some attorneys on a kind of like, business pleasure type thing. I can do it from anywhere in the world, and I love that flexibility. The second was, at first I was thinking of owning a gym, and I could affect, say, 200 people in a big way. This gives me the ability to affect, 1,500, 2,000 of our clients. And then also we're inspiring thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in the free content that we're able to put out because of the revenue that we're bringing in through this business. And, you're talking about like purpose and stuff like that, like what motivates you. For me, it's making a significant impact in the way that people think and talk to themselves about themselves. And this gives me the opportunity to do that with a shitload of people.
I love it. Especially that last part where you talked about, as you're basically saying, as your business grows, it empowers you to build your brand. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily in a way to make more money, but just to help more people, creating more content.
Right.
Fantastic. And then, we're a software company. We work from anywhere in the world as well. And I saw your Instagram the other day where you popped up a computer at a Phoenix airport, and that was your office, for a couple hours. That's kind of part of owning your own business. You got to be ready to pull the laptop out and do some work no matter where you are, right?
Yep.
Kind of comes
all over, man. All over.
We're going to continue the discussion about just the qualities in a strength coach and how they translate to business. You mentioned earlier, as a collegiate strength coach, you have athletes and they're all different. And, some athletes might not give a shit, and that's a situation you have to deal with. Some probably have family trouble, totally different situation, but you still got to deal with it. It's kind of like business. You're not going to get 100 athletes that are all gung-ho about the weight room every day. So it turns into, some sort of malleable, circumstance that you have to deal with. You have no choice. What are two other characteristics, or just a couple, that translate well from strength coaching to business? And then we're going to get into talking a little bit about what are some bad characteristics.
Yeah, the one that jumps out is a strength coach, a good strength coach has the quality that no matter what, they're going to figure it out, right? And they're going to figure out the answer. And in comparison to, a lot of people they'll encounter some kind of problem and they'll do a little bit of research, they'll try a couple things, and if it doesn't go well, they'll give up. A good strength coach will continue to try different answers to the problem, right? Different methods of training a kid or communicating with a kid or teaching a kid until they figure it out. And they won't stop until they get it right. I've seen some of the most hard-nosed people in the world that are just strength and conditioning coaches. And that's an amazing quality about them.
If you know of any, what are some things a strength coach would not do when transitioning into a business setting or becoming entrepreneurial? What are some things that don't connect?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's kind of the one that jumps out at me is kind of a double-edged sword, or not double-edged sword, but there's it works in some instances and it doesn't in another. It's the ability to work hard. These are some of the hardest working individuals I've ever met, right? And you definitely have to work hard and be willing to put in a lot of effort in owning your own business and running your own business. But when it becomes a problem is when you value working hard over working smart. And in business, what you're oftentimes looking for is those really small levers that have the biggest effect. And when you're focused on just fucking putting in the hours, right, and just putting in the work, a lot of times you miss those. And so I think a skill for most strength coaches moving into an entrepreneurial role to develop is the ability to take some time off to kind of hone that creative space, right? To figure out those little things that are going to make the biggest difference. And it might be that you completely get rid of something that you think is necessary, or you delegate something to a team member if you're not the best person for that role. Whatever it may be, I think taking some time off is just to get creative is huge.
I love it. That's anyone who spent some time reading about business or listening to podcasts will hear that theme come up, which is working hard versus working smart. A small example is here with my business partner James. We have completely different schedules on when we think we're at our best. Mm-hmm. I tend to get up really early and get started early in the day and do a lot of work early on. I've had instances in the past where James has woken me up at like 11 o'clock at night, showing me something on the computer because he's right in the middle of a work session, just absolutely crushing it. But we both recognize that we're sometimes on different schedules, and that's the best thing, is to just work when you feel most productive.
Right.
And you do not work when you don't, because it's better to do great work than do half-assed work because you felt like you had to grind out a 12-hour day when physically.
Right. And that can be hard, man. That's another thing for strength coaches to kind of like turn it off. And I still have that for sure, like knowing when to turn it off, because you want to save that energy to do great work, right? That's another skill. And part of it is just getting good at planning, right? Getting good at setting your schedule and staying disciplined to that schedule.
Absolutely. We're doing well on time, so I'm asking a completely impromptu question here. You mentioned your wife, Addie, from Canada. She owns her own business as well. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs who talk about their partner's role as a support person and also as a person to tell you when to buck up a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about how your entrepreneurship has been bolstered by your partner, by your marriage?
I love talking about it, man. And first, I'll use this analogy for our relationship in general. I feel like I have this person in a D, and I think most relationships are like this, hopefully, that I know that I'm going to become the absolute best version of myself because of her, because she holds me to such a high standard that I'm going to fulfill all the things I'm going to say that I'm going to do, because she's going to hold me accountable to those things. I mean, when we first started dating and you know, when our relationship first started, the amount of ideas that were shared between us were just like incredible. And we learned so much so quickly. And we would, you know, in the afternoons, late evening, whatever, after dinner or whatever, we would just start brainstorming about different things that would help both of our businesses. So that was huge. Another thing that's happened more recently and very, very organically, it's been nothing formal at all, is we've kind of stepped into each other's businesses just a little bit, right? I'm helping her with a few things. She's helping me with a few things, getting on meetings with some of my team members and stuff like that. And it creates this, this kind of third pull, right? Like I have what drives me. She has what drives her. We have what drives us, right? And it's creating this really like synergistic effect where we really feel like we're on each other's team and we're working for each other, with each other. And things are going a lot faster because of that. And so, you know, and this is something that I think we'll probably work on for the rest of our lives is how do we work together as effectively as possible. I couldn't encourage that more, you know, like step in just a little bit, you know, within reason, but step in and help where you can, because you probably have very different skills. And then if you learn how to, if you learn how to only operate in your unique genius and you learn how to do that together, I think it can be a great thing for your relationship, your business, and kind of the impact that you have on the world.
Yeah. You can see couples out in the world sometimes, either one or both of them are self-employed, and they complement each other really well. And seeing that is so powerful. And sometimes I see it with you. It's a powerful image. It's like almost poetry in motion. And I feel lucky enough to also have a partner that's both empowered me and also been many other things and kind of helping me run things like I do. So I just want to talk about that because it made me think a little bit about this is a huge component.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I obviously love talking about her. So,
and by the way, people, Adi and Mike have done a podcast together. It's on the Brute Strength website. It's a lot more in depth about Mike and his background and how he's kind of developed into his role where he is now in life. If you want to get into that more, that's on the Brute Strength website. So
I've interviewed her twice on my podcast, and she's actually interviewed me once on it. So okay. Yeah, whatever you're into.
Yeah, that's going to turn into like an autobiography soon.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to definitely talk about some things and get in the nitty gritty because I think it will be helpful. I'm thinking back on my experiences when I first started learning how to sell myself as a person, how to sell a product or a service. And I've talked to a lot of strength coaches that have shared their business ideas with me. And I think probably the most foreign component to a strength coach in business is this concept of selling. So Mike, I just wanted to get your perspective on what it means to sell, how to sell successfully, because I know you've had some thoughts on that. So I definitely want you to share them.
So I was trying to look it up while you were talking. So do you know who Dan Sullivan is?
I do not know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't know Dan, no.
Okay. So Dan is one of the I would say the most well-known like business coach in the world. He's worked with over 7,500 entrepreneurs, including many billionaires. And his definition of selling is getting someone intellectually engaged in a future result that is good for them and getting them to emotionally commit to take action to achieve that result. So when you think about selling under that lens, it's not a scam anymore, right? And before I started this business, and really all growing up, I thought all business owners were crooks. That's just I thought selling was evil. And so, starting to dive into some literature and podcasts and stuff from people like Dan Sullivan, Joe Polish, people that really care, I don't see it as evil anymore. With that said, we focus much more on the marketing side than the actual selling side, especially because we're 100% online. We don't do any calling whatsoever. No one calls us either. So, selling is what you do like face-to-face or maybe over the phone, and marketing is what you do to get people to have that face-to-face or on the phone conversation with you. And what does our selling for us is our sales page for the most part, right? We do have all kinds of marketing, and they come to a sales page and it says everything about the program and any kind of objections that people might have to signing up with us. And then it, goes over those, and then we, present them with some options. On the marketing side, I'm a huge believer in content marketing. Content marketing, for anybody that doesn't know, is using pictures, videos, podcasts, blogs, information. Another word for it is information marketing. Giving people free information most of the time, in return for some trust. And the reason that I love it so much is, even if someone never, we never do business together and I never get a chance to work with them, I've still given them something, right? They've still learned from me. I've hopefully either inspired them, educated them, turned them on to one of our partners or other coaches or something like that. And then if they trust us enough to do business with them, then I get to coach them. Then my team gets to coach them and hopefully affect them in a much greater way.
We're going to continue here with the marketing. I didn't even think about this before the live cast, but I want to hit on it. The brute strength marketing is some of the best out there in the fitness world. You guys do a fantastic job. The production quality, the attention to detail is really good stuff. Now, that being said, can you talk a little bit about how you came around to caring so much about marketing and the kind of quality that you've produced?
Yes, it was, I never, I don't know if I'm sure I heard the word marketing, but I had never even heard a definition before I went to my first mastermind meeting. And that was kind of my intro to business in general. I went to something called the Barbell Mastermind, put on by Barbell Shrugged, some really good friends of mine. And they introduced me to direct response marketing, which means it's not an ad, right? We're not putting up an ad like a billboard in a city and just hoping people sign up, right? When you put up an ad like a billboard in a city, sure, you're going to raise awareness for your brand, and you might get some people to buy or sign up for whatever you're offering, but you can't track that. They taught me the ways to trackable marketing. So, things like Facebook ads and using Google Analytics, email marketing. They introduced me to those concepts. They gave me some further education to go and do on my own. And it just made sense to me, man. Like, why would I go and put flyers on a car, right? And we did this. Matt and I made these mistakes. We put flyers on cars and got no response. We've spent, $500 on flyers with no response and nothing, no data on that. Or we could go spend $50 on Facebook ads and we could get a huge ROI and we could track all of it. So that part just really made sense to me. And it also made sense to me that marketing can be really, really fun, right? I can use storytelling and I can use like entertainment to really like introduce our brand to people and to communicate with people and to create this story about who we are and what we do. And when you mix that with tracking how that's working, it really is. It can be an easy, lucrative, and fun, as Joe Polish puts it, kind of process.
I understand. I've like I said, I've had coaches approach us about go into business and leveraging their background to be entrepreneurial. I point them to brute strength. I say these guys they market well. They do it the right way, and really have a lot of respect for what you guys are doing there in that arena.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it really is fun, and that part is one of the coolest parts of our business in general. Like, we make money from people signing up, and then we just get to create cool ass content, like exciting content for people. That's just fun. Period.
Yeah, content and marketing. You actually have a piece of your marketing now called a knowledge bomb. You just say it. This is a brute strength knowledge bomb. This is something that when you're scrolling in your Facebook feed, you're going to stop and listen to because it's good stuff and it's just there for you. And you're building trust with a lot of people that didn't know about you before. I think it's really good stuff.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Big fan of the knowledge bombs over here.
Nice.
So, Mike, brute strength is a brand, a very prevalent brand now in CrossFit and strength and conditioning. Your company, just to, real talk here, your company is making money. You have employees. You have a lot of people who trust you and follow you. So that makes you the CEO of a real company. And again, speaking bluntly, there are a lot of people who are a one-man show, and in some ways they are a CEO, but you're a CEO of a company that's a rocket ship. That being said, you're primarily tasked with steering the ship, looking into the future, understanding the market, where it's going. So there's some sort of level of perception that you have to have. And I just wanted to ask you, where do you perceive things going with the online fitness market, and where do you perceive things going with Brute right now?
Well, luckily, I think this is luckily for strength coaches, I think everything is going in the direction of functional fitness. I don't think we will ever get away from machines entirely, but I think every single facility in the world will have a room or a space dedicated to functional fitness. I think 90% of them will have bumper plates, and people will be doing deadlifts, presses. They will be squatting. They'll be doing swings, carries, all of that kind of stuff, which is great news for all of us, because that's what we know and love. As far as Brute is concerned, I think we're in a good position to be one of the major leaders in the functional fitness space, and that's what we want to do. We teach people how to get bigger, faster, and stronger, and we give them programs for that. But again, what I'm really, really interested in is teaching people how that translates to the rest of their life and having it impact their success in a much broader way. And so we're creating different things based on improving people's mindsets and stuff like that I'm really, really excited about. And so I really hope and think that will be seen as a huge inspiration as well in the functional fitness space.
Awesome. As far as 2017 and what that holds for your company, where will people see Brute Strength? Are you going to be in person at any things, any events? Where can people find the Brute Strength team members?
That's a good question. We're kind of all over the place. I think in the fall, we will have 3 or 4 camps this year. Usually we have one annual kind of retreat, but I think we're going to amp it up a little bit all in the fall. We'll do one probably in Washington State, one in New Jersey, one maybe in Salt Lake City, and then another maybe Miami type area. And those will all be in the fall. And then we'll be at the CrossFit Games as always. Yeah, that's all we have planned for now.
Okay, cool. We maybe we'll cross paths at one of those and have to do another feature.
Hell yeah.
We're going to finish up here with a couple of items. So Brute Body, this is one of the programs that you sell, probably your most popular program. And then now you have a new brainchild out of that by demand, Brute Body Light. It's out. It just came out this week. This is wildly popular. Some of the before and after pictures are like absolutely ridiculous. And I'm proud to say that I am a Brute Body graduate. I did Brute Body before it was even out to the public as like a test, so to speak. And I remember like in week 7, at the time she was my girlfriend, was like, "What have you been doing?" And I'm like, "I've been stopping work at 3 o'clock and doing this Brute Body with these guys that we're partnering with. I don't know who they are yet, but like, like that stuff works." So Brute Body Light is a condensed version. It's all the potent stuff just packed into less for people who are putting in 8-10 hours a day to work and maybe don't have as much time. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, we took all of the most important pieces of Brute Body program and distilled it into 45 to 60 minutes, because the biggest piece of feedback that we got is people just couldn't finish it. It was 90 minutes and it was like a full strength and conditioning session. So we really knocked it down, and we know that if people stick to this program, they're still going to get amazing results. Yeah,
that's awesome. In fact, today we just ordered a brand new rower, getting ready for the Brute Body Light taking place right here in the Team Builder weight room. So hopefully videos out of that. All right, so in addition to the Brute Body programs, again, really potent stuff. Brute Strength as a whole. Of course, if you're an athlete competing in the fitness space, you probably know about Brute Strength. But if you're a strength and conditioning coach, if you're a coach of any kind, I encourage you to go to Brute Strength, subscribe to the newsletter, and just start participating in the stuff going on there. It's really awesome stuff. We're talking really functional fitness and a lot on top of that. Mike, I can see that you guys are getting into more than just the weight room stuff. You're getting into nutrition. You're getting into the comprehensive lifestyle fitness thing, which is where strength and conditioning is going in general. So can you just talk a little bit more about how you're going beyond just the weights and beyond the programming a little bit?
Absolutely. Like I was kind of getting at, it's very exciting. The lifting and the physical part is very exciting and stimulating, but it really doesn't do it for me. It doesn't fulfill me. I have to have a bigger impact on people to, at the end of the day, to believe that I'm doing everything I can. So that means we have to offer a nutritional component. We have to offer some advice on lifestyle and mindset, whatever it may be. When we started this, the whole point was to help people that want to compete at the CrossFit Games. And the idea was to bring all of these experts together, like you might see in a football organization, right? A quarterback has his offensive coordinator, head coach, position coach, his athletic trainer, his strength coach. They have an entire team working together for each individual. I'm trying to create that team for every single one of our clients, right? And it's going to include psychologists and nutritionists, etc. We're probably never going to do the nutrition part ourselves because my wife does that. And they are the best. So I don't want to compete with her. But yeah, the idea is to get the best of the best in every area of health and fitness.
I think what you're talking about is probably one of the most exciting things about strength and conditioning to me. If I meet people who have no idea what strength and conditioning is, and I try to tell them, explain to them what the industry is, I think my favorite part of that conversation is just to tell them that strength and conditioning has always been a sophisticated industry and a position, but it's becoming even more so today in ways that strength coaches are starting to take responsibility for things like psychology and wellness and happiness, well-being, all these things that feed into the overall scheme, which is, the weight room is a component of, but many other things. So I'm excited to see how you guys just keep taking things to the next level. It's going to be really awesome. I'm going to post all the stuff that you could visit Brute Strength on. Mike is on Twitter. Brute Strength is on Twitter. Famously, they're on Instagram.
Barely on Twitter.
Well, I was going to say Twitter, fine, but follow him on Instagram. That's where all the good stuff happens. Get a lot of awesome posts. Follow Mike personally on Instagram. It's not just about Brute. Your life looks awesome. You do a lot of traveling and a lot of fun. And obviously, we can tell you have a great time with your wife traveling the world. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. Mike, if you want to close anything, go ahead and let people know.
Yeah, guys, like as you were saying earlier, Hewitt, if you're interested in any of this kind of stuff, subscribe to our newsletter and just kind of watch what we do. Watch the way we put out videos. Watch the kind of emails that you get back from us, and really just think about why we're doing the things that we're doing, and see if you can implement it for yourself.
I completely endorse. Today is December 21st. We have 4 days till Christmas. You're allowed to relax on Christmas. Don't drink too much eggnog because you got to get up the next day and get back to work before New Year's Eve. Thank you, everyone, for joining. More importantly, Mike, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on, and we look forward to much more in the future.
Honored to be here, man. Thanks for having me, brother.